Ballywhinney girl. We found her in the bog where she had lain so long. It was my grandpa cutting turf for a kitchen fire who found her. His spade lifted peat dirt from her face. He staggered back. "Ah!" he whispered. "Maeve, I found a dead boy buried in the bog. Murdered, maybe. Hidden here. I'm stupefied, I am. Run on home and tell your ma. Tell her to phone the Ballywhinney police. Go on now. Hurry, girl." I ran. My ma, eyes wide and staring, called the town police. "Stay here now, Maeve. Don't you be going back," she said. But I raced back to the waiting bog. She didn't see me leave, for she was phoning my Aunt Bridget and my da, and all the neighbors to tell them what had happened. I crouched beside my grandpa, looking at this outlandish thing, a small black body buried in our bog. The Ballywhinney police came in their car. "Jakers, will you look at that?" they said. "You've found a mummy, all of him preserved in peat for centuries." The sergeant scratched his head beneath his cap. "We'll get the word to Dublin, and they'll send a team of archaeologists. Don't go near him till they come." They came, the archaeologists, excited and aware of the importance of our find. My grandpa, cold and shaking, held my hand. "You should go home," the sergeant said to me. I acted like I didn't hear and stayed. I wasn't sure exactly how I felt. There was fear and curiosity, but there was more. Something I could not put a name to. My grandpa said, "You're telling me this boy's been buried here and lay 100 years or so before we found him? It's bewildering, so it is." "100 years?" an archaeologist replied. "I'd guess 1,000, maybe more." My grandpa gasped. "You hear that, Maeve? 1,000 years, and him in there. So long ago, it dazed my mind. 1,000 years would be before the motor cars or telephones or even television." I shook my head, confused. "You'd almost think that yesterday he was alive and walking, just like you or me. You would, except his skin. He's got a suntan that he never got in Ballywhinney." Another archaeologist bent close to where the mummy lay. "He might not even be a he. I'm thinking he's a she." I gasped. A girl! A girl like me, 1,000 years ago? Dead and dropped in this quiet place? Who was she? What had happened? My heart was beating awful fast. I wished I knew. My grandpa looked at me, then took my hand. "Don't you go fretting, Maeve. I think she was a miracle, this girl, just waiting to be found." The archaeologist agreed. "The chances are she lived in this townland, died, and was buried in the bog, or else she fell and sank, never to be found. Till now." The bog turns light-skinned dark like leather, but lifelike just the same. My grandpa shook his head. "It's more than I can comprehend. A mystery is what it is." The neighbors all had come, alerted by my ma. My da was on his way, she said. He works in Lisnaglin. The police held the people back. Me and my grandpa were allowed to stay. As well we should be. We had found her. The men from Dublin placed our mummy in a box, moving her with care because her bones were thin as glass. That's what they told us. They packed fat wadding around her so she could not slide and break. "Where are you taking her?" I asked. "We'll take her to the lab in Dublin where they'll do some tests, x-rays and scans. They'll let us know." It made me sad to see her go. I touched the box they placed her in and rubbed the wood. I didn't like to think of her inside, so closed and dark, so like the coffin that she'd never had. "You'll keep her safe?" I asked, and heard my voice all scratchy sore. And don't forget, we were the ones who found her. In a way, she's ours. You'll tell us all they find? My grandpa asked. You will be the first to know, they said. A week passed by, and then the sergeant came. He had a cup of tea and ate a slice of soda bread with jam like he was one of us. They did the tests, he said. I wondered if they hurt, those tests. Had they stuck needles in her? Cut her open? What? Sometimes I wish that we'd never found her. There was some hair still clinging to her head, fair, like yours, young Maeve. And there were some scraps of leggings round her legs, and some torn rags that might have been a cloak that someone sewed from animal skins. I pictured her so long ago, dressing herself and putting on the cloak her mother made. Was she on her way to school? And did she take a shortcut through the bog? Would there be schools away back then? They found some flowers beside her, the sergeant said. He took another sip of tea. Stalks like sticks and petals see-through clear. They think they were lupin and wild roses, the kind that line the lanes of Ballywhinney. I saw her dawdling along the lanes the way I do. I heard her singing as she walked. The sergeant said that newsmen came, a host of them, but they were told to stay away. Their camera flashes could destroy the find. I interrupted him. Our find. That's true, your find, he said. But we could tell that there were those who hunted news, whose cameras took pictures as she lay, their lenses zooming in to almost touch the dark, dead face that filled our television screens night after night. I closed my eyes. The Ballywhinney Gazette said that they had named her. She'll be Ballywhinney Girl for Ballywhinney, where she was found, they wrote. They're going to freeze-dry her so she won't decay and put her on display in Dublin in the museum where the other mummies lie. Do you think she's glad to be set free from where she was? I asked my da, who knows a lot. She's dead, me darlin', dead and gone. The dead don't know or care. I wonder, though. Did she like her sweet, warm resting place? And did she like it more than the cold viewing case where she will lie from now until forever? I begged my da to take me into Dublin so that I could see her one last time. My ma and grandpa came along. She lay curled up, her body black as coal and full of secrets. So pitiful to see. Those tufts of hair as blonde as mine. It made me cry. When we got home, I found a big flat rock and set it on the place where once she'd lain. I said goodbye. Out on the bog, the wind blows soft across the closed-in hole across the stone that marks her place. And on a moonlit night, you still may see her there, walking on the bog she loved. She carries flowers, blue lupin and wild roses. Her ghost-light steps are gentle on the place where long ago she fell. Stay quiet now, and do not speak, or she may vanish. A bog is a stretch of wet, spongy land found in places that have heavy rainfall, such as Ireland. Plants and grasses grow on its surface. There are mosses in the acidic soil. Partly decayed trees and plants mashed together in the bog to make peat. The mosses and peat contain natural preservatives, so anything that sinks in the bog decays very slowly. Irish villagers often go out onto the bog and cut brick-like blocks of peat to burn their fireplaces. There is nothing that smells as sweet or burns as richly as a peat fire. These diggings into the bog sometimes turn up primitive weapons and tools. The diggers have also unearthed ancient bones and even mummified human bodies like the fictional Ballywhinney girl. More than 80 such mummies have been found in Irish bogs. Many more have been unearthed in other countries with similar weather and soil conditions. One of the earliest mummies discovered was the sculptured woman found in Denmark. Archaeologists dated her body to about 8000 BC. Some mummified bodies have been handled with reverence and respect when found. Others were treated as curiosities to be exhibited in freak shows or offered at auction. Still, others were ground up into mummy powder and sold for medicinal use. New machinery used by commercial peat cutters can destroy mummies before they are ever found, but others may be hidden in their deep, dark graves forever. Bogs have been mysteries for thousands of years and do not easily give up their secrets. The end. Please subscribe.